I'm Ava Torres. So one of my first teachers that I'm going to talk about is Mrs. Fleischman. She was my second grade teacher. Second grade was really one of the years that I remembered first really caring about my education, and I feel like she had a big part to do with that. That was when I really started caring about how I was doing and really wanted to do my best, and she was always there to help, and she was just always patient and kind and just wanted all her students to do the best that we could, and I think that my education might have been a lot different without her. She helped me a lot.
My name is Caitlin, and my favorite memory when I was in Miss Gaffrey's class is every day when I walked in, Miss Gaffrey picked a special joke out of this joke box that students would put in little jokes on pieces of paper, and she picked one, and every day a student would come up and share their joke.
I'm Jack Sherrill. My favorite teacher was Mr. Gooden. He was my favorite teacher because he taught us to code robots and make them move around and make them do whatever we wanted them to do. And it was just really cool because he brought a new feel to the classroom than what I was used to.
My name is Lily. My favorite teacher is Mr. Groot. The reason why is because she taught me how to talk when I started kindergarten, and she was kind and caring.
My name is Carlos Solis, and the teacher that made a huge impact on my life was Martin Shackleton, and he was my high school choir teacher. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, the police department raided our house, and my mom and dad were taken to jail and because we were distributing illegal drugs. My father was a heroin addict and selling heroin, and so when I accepted Christ, I just to go back a few months, I decided to leave the business, so to speak, but because I was a new Christian, I didn't know how to do that, and so I backslid and continued. So we had a very strong summer, and then 2 weeks before Thanksgiving that year in '77, that's when the big bust happened. It was hard. I was confused. I was angry at Dad. I was angry at God. And so I remember going to my high school campus early in the morning before school started. Illegal making entry, of course, like I usually did, and walking the campus, crying to God, physically crying to God, tears, just, God, please help me. I can't do this on my own. Please help me. And just a few short seconds later, I hear this loud shout, "Hey, you!" And I'm like, I get all puffy because I'm still rough around the edges. I say, no one says that to me. And I turned around, and here's this tall white guy with the mustache yelling that to me. And I walk up to him, fists clenched, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to hate him. And he says, "Hey, do you play guitar?" I'm like, "No." "My dad played guitar. He was a mariachi." "Yes." He goes, "Great. I'll see you tomorrow morning. You're in my class." He put his hand out to shake my hand, and I slapped it. And I walked back to my car like, what the heck just happened? Thanks God for nothing. I didn't even know that God answered my prayer. And that began the relationship with Martin Shackleton.
My name is Jasmine Collins, and one of my favorite teachers, her name is Mrs. Ennis. She was my teacher for both first and second grade. I was lucky enough to be able to have her for both years. And one of the things that really made her special to me was that she celebrated all of the small moments in our lives at that very young age. And some of the special memories that I have were making tie-dye shirts as a class. We did that multiple times. And all of them had our names on them, and each of them were unique to us, and we have so many pictures of all of us in our tie-dye shirts, and it was special making those.
Hi, my name is Joel Wiens, and I want to share with you a little bit about two teachers that had an impact in my life and helped me become the teacher that I am today. First one was Mr. McCarty. He was my English teacher in 10th and 12th grades, and he was just excellent. Coat and tie every day. every lesson, every day had a purpose, every day had a plan. And he just showed and what that kind of commitment could bring to a classroom. And then he read to us every Friday, and then just like in elementary school. And so kind of a transparency that comes out in a teacher when they read to a class, and his excellence. Love you, Mr. McCarty.
My name is Carly Patch, and my favorite teacher throughout my experience of school has been Mr. Newsome. The reason Mr. Newsome has been my favorite teacher is because not only did he teach me a lot of really good history lessons, but he also taught me a lot of life lessons that I'm going to continue to use throughout my high school and college experiences.
Hi, I'm Marlena Slater. The teacher that impacted me mostly was my second grade teacher, Mrs. Sievert from Zion Lutheran School. She was an amazing lady who at first glance was an older woman, thinking more like a grandma kind of a scenario, but she was one tough lady. She knew, I think she was the ultimate of having eyes in the back of her head, and knew if any of us were out of line, goofing around, whatever. She just gave us that one lick and everything stopped. She also knew if you weren't giving your best. She sat in with me during recesses and lunch periods, whatever it took to get me where I needed to be.
Hi everyone, my name's Nathaniel Craig. I'm going to be a senior this year in high school. It's going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. God has a plan. I remember last year I had a wildlife teacher. His name was Mr. Kozad, and I had wanted to be in his class the previous year, and he said, next year when you become a junior, I'll take you. And I said, okay. Animals are a very special and important thing to me. I like animals of all sorts. And it just amazed me how much he knew. I mean, he had a biology degree and stuff, and he raised animals and stuff, but the depth of his knowledge was amazing.
At the end of every day, Miss Gaffrey always played piano for us. We got a singing class too, because she has a piano in her classroom.
Next morning, pling, 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 pling on the guitar. That led to me playing guitar for him in his guitar class. The next year, I'm invited to the choir. I go into the choir room, here's all these white kids, and my father raised me as a racist. I'm going, oh no, I'm not gonna sing with all these white kids. God made a way for me. He says, hey, what part do you sing? And in my head, I'm going, my sister sang soprano, so I said, soprano! And everybody's laughing. So I leave the room. Yeah, I know you're all laughing, right? Because I didn't know what a soprano was, but my sister sang it. They all laughed. I told them they were all number one with a certain finger, and I ran out the room. Mr. Shackleton chased me, goes, no, they thought you were funny. Called me back in, I went in, the healing began. This man was Jesus to me. He loved me unconditionally. He was a listener. He was gracious. He was kind and compassionate. So I was in a barbershop, the guitar class, choir, and chamber singers. So by my senior year, I was in all those 4 classes. And through him, God was healing me.
One of my other teachers that I've had was my 8th grade Spanish teacher, Missy Vara. She was one of my favorites. She was the best. She would always make time for me whenever I needed her. And she helped me if I needed anything going on with school. She would let me come in during lunch, and she would talk to me. And if I had issues going on with my friends or anything, she was always there, and she was always there to comfort me and help me through anything that I was going through. And I just feel like that's so important for teachers and students to make those connections, because I feel like just school can be tough, and having teachers that you know are there and care for you, that's just really helpful and wonderful. And she was just the best. I loved her so much.
Hi, my name is Kenna Jo McCabe, and one of my favorite teachers is Miss Sanders at Westfield Elementary School. Miss Sanders is caring, and I know that she's cares about me because I am on a special medication that's ADHD. And sometimes when I forgot to take it, she would sit with me in the classroom. She'd sit with me in the classroom and help me complete my work.
I'm Liam Sherrill. My favorite teacher was Mr. Poslich because you could tell that he really cared about his students and wanted to make sure that his class was meaningful to them and not just another class they were forced to take.
Hi, my name's Macy. I'm going to be a freshman this year, and one of my favorite teachers through middle school was probably my 6th grade English teacher, Miss Duran. She was just very nice and fun and supportive, and she made learning fun, and she was also very caring about her students, and it was really nice because I was going through a lot of family stuff that year, so she really helped me through it and helped me keep my grades up and learn at the same time. So I'm really thankful for that, and I'm just really appreciative.
I just enjoyed every day being able to go into that classroom and learning something new, even for me. So that was a very special thing. He had, even though he had passed away, I still knew that I would take the knowledge that he gave to me and use it for a better purpose. So that's where Mr. Kozad.
And the final thing that I loved was that we sang every day in class. She had a piano, and we sang about 5 songs to start every morning, and she celebrated every single one of our birthdays by singing us each a special song, and we all sang together, and that was very special to me.
Another thing that I know, that's just how she cares for me, cares about me, is that we have a thing called the store, and it's basically a bunch of toys and stuff at the back table. She makes fake money called Mrs. Sanders dollars, because that's what it says on the dollars. And so she gives it to us every day for like homework or completing our work, cleaning up. One time when she didn't have the thing that I wanted, she went to the store, and then the next time, the next day she brought it back, and I paid her for it. So that's why Miss Sanders is my favorite teacher.
My second teacher was Mrs. Flettner. Mrs. Flettner was my German teacher, the language of my forebears. A lot of good my German does me in Porterville these days. But in German class, we called her Frau Flettner. How many people like to be called Frau? Maybe Fräulein, but not Frau. But we called her Frau Flettner, and she loved it, and she cared for us, and she loved us, and that just came across in all of her teaching and all her class time. And so that love, and since she loved us and cared for us and showed that we loved her and cared for her back, that's the second thing that I like about something to convey to my students, a sense of caring. So Frau Flettner, thank you for your caring and your love for us during class time. Mr. McCarty, thank you for your plan and purpose and excellence in your teaching.
I know 2nd grade, that's so young and, such a young age, but I still remember to this day what she looked like, how she walked, how she talked, what she did for us as children, loving us, being compassionate, and all of those types of things I will forever hold dear.
Is Bonnie Ramage, and my story started when I was a 1st grader. My family had just moved to a small town in Filer, Idaho, where my dad was the pastor, and I didn't really know anybody, and so started school, and it was a rough start. I didn't really have any friends, and the girls in my classroom had decided that year that I was not going to be a part of their friend group, so I was pretty rejected that year. And one day we were all standing outside, lined up by our classroom, ready to go back in after recess. And the girls had a little bottle of spray perfume, and they were going around and having everybody smell it. And they came over to me and they kept wanting me to smell this perfume. And I was fully aware that I was not part of their friend group, and it felt more like being made fun of really than being accepted. And so somehow that perfume, I pushed it away. They kept pushing it in my face, and I pushed it away, and I don't know how this happened, but the girl next to me got sprayed in her eyes. And they began to really get on me that I had done it on purpose, and that how could I have done that to this girl? And I was so upset, and I started crying, and I apologizing to her that I didn't mean to do it on purpose, and just really felt alone and rejected. And about that time, my teacher, Mrs. Finlayson, came out the door, and it was the kind of classroom where they had the windows where you can't see in, but when you're in the classroom, you can see out. And I thought, oh no, she's seen the whole thing and I'm gonna get in trouble. And so she walked up to me and she said, Vonnie, I'd like you to go in the classroom. And of course all the girls did the, ooh, you're in trouble, and I thought I was in trouble. And I walked in the classroom and I sat down at my desk and she shut the door. And I thought for sure she was gonna come over and I was gonna get disciplined for it. And she walks over and she puts her arm around me instead. And she said, I just want you to know that I saw everything. You're not in trouble, and the only reason I brought you into class was so that you could stop crying and get yourself together before I brought the rest of the class in. And I was shocked that that's how it turned about. And she went out out by the class and shut the door, and I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could tell that she was really getting onto those girls about how they had treated me. And nothing had passed her. She knew what was going on in her own classroom. And that was the first time that I can remember a teacher standing up for me and understanding what I was feeling and what I was going through. And because of that, I never forgot her. Mrs. Finlayson, I never forgot that teacher. She made me feel like I could get through the rest of the year. So that's my story.
I graduated from high school, I joined the military and all that stuff. I reconnected with Martin through Facebook about 6 years ago. And I was able to join up with him and at a church. And before he died, I was able to sing with him in church. And I said, Martin, thank you so much for coming and helping me and rescuing me. I didn't know he was a Christian. I didn't know that at the time he was a youth minister in the Church of God, and that he and his wife were youth pastors and leading choirs up and down, going all over the places. I didn't know that he was the adjunct professor at Azusa Pacific University. I didn't know these things when he was there. He never told me he was a Christian, but he was Jesus on the ground here, being Jesus to me. And all this time I'm thinking, God sent him for me, but he sent Martin Shackleton for all these kids. Now I'm a teacher, and I'm paying it forward to all these at-risk kids here. That's my ministry, is to be Jesus to at-risk kids here. And I have a message to all you teachers who are getting ready to go back to school. Be Jesus to these kids. These kids need us.